With all of the accomplishments of the X-Men, and all of the amazing stories in the Claremont era, it's really easy to forget that characters like Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Colossus were not the inaugural team. They were introduced with the giant-size relaunch. Instead, the first class started back in the 60s, along with the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Creative duties were handled by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and it is debated amongst comic historians whether or not the X-Men were a pastiche, a ripoff, of DC's Doom Patrol, another team of misfits looking to be accepted in the world and fighting crime. That's debatable in my opinion, but what's not really debatable is how overshadowed this era is. It is often forgotten when compared to the Chris Claremont and even Jim Lee eras of the X-Men. Despite that though, it did introduce a lot of important concepts to the Marvel Universe, one of which being the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. This is the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Wave Toad action figure. And I'm just going to say this real quick, this dude is a total creep. No longer are we dealing with the very Peter Lorre-inspired, portly Toad of the Jack Kirby era. This is based heavily on the Rob Liefeld redesign from the late 90s. The character design has been slimmed down quite a bit, and he's been given a much more athletic musculature. However, he does retain the Harlequin medieval jester-inspired outfit that Jack Kirby drew all the way back in the 60s. All of this combined just makes him just like a total creepy weirdo. You know, he totally looks like a pervert. Think less Ray Park from the 2000s X-Men movie, and like recast that as Brad Dourif in his prime.
You ought to see me with the 357 Magnum. I'm awesome.
When it comes to accessories, he includes these fisted hands, which are pretty standard with most Marvel Legends figures, or at least they should be. And he also includes these wide-open jazz hands for those superhero landings or, you know, grabbing stuff. He has two face sculpts, one with this very toothy grimace, which has a lot of paint detail on him to make him look extra dirty, and then one with his tongue lashing out. Oh god. It's cute when Sue from My Hero Academia does it, being all froggy, but when Toad does it, it's gross and I want him to get away from me. Which is to say, it's really well sculpted and looks great in a lot of dynamic poses. My favorite accessory that he has are these little toads. Well, one toad and one frog. They're super cute and very well detailed and sculpted. I just like it whenever action figures include like little pets or animal companions. The last thing he includes is this little stand with a double-sided cardboard backdrop. Now, the original Marvel Legends figure from Toy Biz came with this little diorama piece, which is pretty cool, and I kinda want to get it for my collection, at least for photos. The pack-in for this is not really a good substitute, but it is a fun homage. So, back in the day, Toad was not a major player in the X-Men comics. Obviously, he was introduced way back in X-Men number 4, and his major contribution in the grand scheme of things is being on that cover. It's a pretty awesome cover, and it is done by Jack the King Kirby. In X-Men number 4, Toad's just hanging out with the other evil mutants, Mastermind, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver, and he doesn't really contribute anything. He's just kind of Magneto's toady, pun intended. Obviously, he's not very charismatic, and, you know, he'll fight for Magneto, but he's just kind of this gross little goblin creature in the background, and that's mostly what Toad does. He just hangs out in the background, and will get in the tussle when need be. The best appearance is actually in X-Men number 5, where he busts through a triathlon just to mess with everybody and, you know, uses his mutant powers of hopping and frog-like abilities to win. Don't worry, that win doesn't last very long as the X-Men bust him immediately for cheating. The thing that most people will know Toad from is the 2000 X-Men movie adaptation where he's played by Ray Park. He doesn't do much in the movie besides evil villain grunt work, and he's very overshadowed by Sir Ian McKellen's portrayal of Magneto and Rebecca Romijn's Mystique. It's like comparing a lit match to the sun. Now, there were more scenes and lines for Toad, but they were all cut during production. The only remain of this is the whole, you know what happens to a Toad when it's struck by lightning. He was just going to be fucking with Storm throughout the entire movie, and she finally just fried his ass. And honestly, really, that's Toad's place. He is the disposable grunt of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. They can't all be A-listers or B-listers, C-listers, even if you're there from day one. But this figure is actually an A-lister. I'd say it's an A-plus lister. It's a really well-sculpted, well-made action figure with amazing articulation and pretty solid balance for a weird, stringy dude like this. It can get into a lot of dynamic action poses. It's very photogenic. It's just genuinely a super amazing toy of a very lackluster character, which, you know, is just how it goes sometimes.